Yeah, hey everyone, it's Sark from Melbourne, Australia. How are you? Look, about graphics cards and the heat they give off, and this is specifically a video about that. Well, there's my cat. Oh, there's me in the mirror. Anyway, hi. Now look, I recently purchased a very, very small gaming PC. Here it is here. Now, the graphics card is an Asus GeForce 1660 Ti. Now, these Ti, it's called a thing called a Phoenix. There's the box up there. Now, these things only have one fan in them, and they're very, very good. Arguably, one of the best graphics cards for its price to run 1080p games. Now, big problem. I mean, as you can see, it has a glass side. Relatively, there's venting there and venting on the top, but gets really hot. I mean, like, even frame rates are good, nothing to complain about. You can pump up the thing, pump up the resolution and all that. You know what? I'm actually getting 65 FPS on high for Cyberpunk. Now, my history is I used to be an electrician and I used to install air conditioning. Now, if you're looking at things cooling down, I think I'm a pretty valuable guy to have around, don't you? Now, what do graphics cards have? Well, they have a circuit board. This is running, obviously. Have a circuit board, and underneath they have a aluminium heat sink, and underneath, still can't quite see it, there's one fan in this particular one. Now, some 1660s have two fans, three fans, but the problem is, what do you want to do? What do you want to do to keep this thing cool? You want to help that little fan that it's got out, right? Not only that, you want to blow as much cold air, ambient air, over that circuit board and through that aluminium heat sink as you can. So, there is a fan in the front, RGB, whatever. But what about a fan in the back? Now, you can't put a fan in between the heat sink and the back of the cabinet, can you? On the inside. But looky here, guys. Little fan on the outside of the cabinet. Check that out. That's a 12-volt fan on the outside of the cabinet. So now that is blowing outside, blowing to the outside, sucking from the inside. So what you have is you have a fan on the front, sucking in air from the room, and a blowing through the card. And there's the other angle. Oh, can I get it? Yeah. Sucking that air out. Rather than playing some games, I mean, I'm a first-person shooter game. I'm into a Serious Sam and that sort of thing. I don't know. Dying Light, zombie games, fantastic. Rather than this thing now, we used to get up to 83 degrees. Jeepers. That's on 1080p. Now less than 70. Straight up and down. Now, it is wired. You're going to think this is rough, but hey, you know what? Whatever. It is wired off its own separate power supply plugged into a multi-box. It's not draining power from the system itself. Now, I could do that, but I'm into ecology anyway. So what I'm doing is, when I turn off my computer, shut down my computer, you know how it goes. I turn off the computer or shut down from software. I turn off the power switch, and that cuts off the fan and shuts down the whole system anyway. Just one more small bit of advice, and you probably already know this anyway. Cap your frame rate. I mean, this, most graphics cards, now it's not a great one. I used to have a GTX 1650, this is much better. It's not great, but do you really need to play basic games at 140 FPS? Or some of you guys who play these challenging best in the world first-person shooters, the ones I mean, you might. But just by playing normal games, do you need 150 FPS? I'm playing Dying Light right now, Dying Light 2 as well. Getting 65 FPS on high settings. Not bad, right, for a little card. Normally running at, used to, before I put the fan in, 85 degrees Celsius. Cut down the frame rate, limit the frame rate either in NVIDIA setup, because I have an NVIDIA card, or in the game itself, limit that to 80 or 70 FPS, temperature drops like that. Obviously turn off rubbish like motion blur. Does your filtering need to be at 16 times or 8 times or 4 times? I've got mine set to 2. Lens flare, okay, things like that, but not motion blur, I mean, really. And believe it or not, this GTX 1660 Ti has the facility, no laughing, even though it's a GTX card, has ray tracing and the DLSS mode. And now why would you put ray tracing on a card that's only worth $300 Australian? I've got no idea. Anyway, think about the idea. If you've got a small cabinet like I have, put a fan on the back. Put a fan on the back of the cabinet, even if you have to take out some of the little, those things that have the slots on them. Take some of those out. I don't know, put a fan in there. You can't put it on the inside of the cabinet, put it on the outside. Control your frame rate, fan curve. Yeah, you could do something with the fan curve as well, but to be honest with you, you don't want the thing screaming its head off if it's only 70 degrees, do you? I mean, this way it gets more than enough air. In fact, if I put my hand around the back, I can put my hand around the back like that, I can actually feel that the air coming out of that fan is warm. Later on I will chop off the little bits of the fan that poke out. It's against the wall, who cares? And at the end of the day, you shut down the computer and you turn off the main switch. Better for the environment. Your computer's not on standby all the time and the fan is automatically cut off. Why don't you connect the fan directly to the power supply? Sark, you silly egg. Yeah, I can. Maybe I will at this stage, but you know what? I've got a 500 watt power supply. I know fans don't consume much, but I've got 3 in there already. I didn't want to start finding a compatible plug, or if I was really rough, I could plug it into the graphics card power supply there with a couple of like little pins. But I'm not gonna do that. I'd like to have some feedback if possible. Until next time, Sark from Melbourne, Australia. Excuse the way I look too. Yeah. Take care. Stay safe. Bye bye.